Hello and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News channel. We're going to look at 5 reasons why Bitcoin and crypto in general is falling this September. And a lot of it does lead back to the whales and the fat cats. So let's actually look at the reasons. The first one is regulations. Now, the Biden administration is tightening up on illicit exchanges. They just went after a check exchange, I believe, but this one shouldn't affect it much because they're just going after the smaller exchanges that are really kind of shady. The exchanges that are registered, like Coinbase, etc., they're really not going after the SEC, going after their lending product is another thing, but it's not going to shut the exchange down. It might drive some fear, and therefore crypto is down a bit. The real fear is the September 27th thing. They're going to pass that infrastructure bill, which has the crypto rider attached, and what happens if they actually pass it without amending it. Now, I don't think that's too much trouble because it looks like the Progressive Caucus might just stop the bill altogether because they're not getting what they want elsewhere. And even if they do, I believe there will be legal challenges and it might be too much of a hassle for them to contend with it. And they might drop the rider altogether. But especially that September 27th bill, that is driving a lot of fear. And that's why BitBoy made that prediction, because he has the same information that the rest of us do. And the September 27th bill is kind of a big block to crypto. Second is the Fed tapering, which could actually carry over into next month because the Fed has just said they're not going to really announce tapering or anything to do with tapering until November. They're obviously not going to say we're going to start tapering right now. What Fed tapering is they're basically just pulling back on their buys of bonds and stocks. I personally don't think they'll do it this year, especially if the markets continue to be crappy. If the markets are really, really good at some time, maybe after this virus thing is over, then they'll definitely start to do tapering. On the other hand, if they announce another stimulus, the market will probably go up. So there's the Fed tapering issue, but I don't think that's a big issue because I don't think they're going to taper this year. They might towards the end of the year if the economy rebounds or if the market rebounds, but right now they're not really going to taper. The third is Evergrande, the Chinese kind of property company. The Chinese government said they're not going to directly intervene, which means they're not going to directly bail them out. I don't really believe that for a minute. I think this ripples through too much of the Chinese economy, and I do think they will actually bail them out. Now, the thing about Evergrande is China's trying to drive a market-based economy, and bailing them out would actually signal kind of a departure for that. And overall, since they've actually become a more market-based economy, China's become very prosperous. Now, the thing is $300 billion worth of debt is a lot. And it's not just the direct exposure. The secondary exposure through bank bonds and other stuff that Evergrande supports could actually be really bad for the Chinese market. As for global effect, I think it will have some global effect, but it's not going to be like Lehman Brothers. China's economy is kind of centered on China itself. And I think the damage will most likely be local. But it'll be a lot of local damage, which I think is why eventually the government will actually intervene. Because I think it would be too much of a blow to China if they didn't intervene and just let this giant property company collapse. Because I'm sure there are other property companies that sort of depend on Evergrande, and people are going to be scrutinizing these other property companies more. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of them have debt that they can't manage. Because, there's been a lot of ghost cities built, and there's been a lot of cities that are promised to be built in China that were never built. So this whole Evergrande thing is actually spooking the market. It will probably have ripple effects throughout the world because it's such a big company. And also, it does have something a little bit to do with Tether. Now, Tether has actually said that they don't hold any Evergrande bonds. So primary exposure to Tether, I don't think exists. But Tether might actually hold some Chinese bonds in banks that actually depend on Evergrande or that are supported by Evergrande. So Tether might be in a little bit of trouble in the future. And of course, if it's trouble for Tether, it's going to be trouble for crypto because Tether is used for liquidity so much in cryptocurrency. And of course, fourth, it's September. Now, there's no real reason why I should dump in September, but historically, the last few years, September has been bad. So everyone thinks it's going to dump in September, so everyone sells and it dumps. It's more of a psychological thing. I think it's completely stupid, but it generally happens that way. Now, the fifth reason, of course, the whales and fat cats, and they actually play into it's September a lot. They know, they hear the rumors that people think it's going to dump in September because it's September. Obviously, they also know the regulation dates because every one of us knows the regulation dates on September 27th. So they're taking advantage of that. They're starting a sell-off. And I wouldn't be surprised if they sold the rumor and then they bought the news. They sell up until the 27th and then they buy after the 27th. So we could actually have an upswing to end the month because I don't think anything disastrous is going to happen on the 27th. So the whales know this, and they have a lot of Bitcoin. So if they start selling that Bitcoin off, and people see it going down in September, they're like, oh, September's happening again. They'll sell their Bitcoin off, which kind of like escalates the price going down. So that's kind of why it's going down in September. The whales start, and then like all the, I'm going to say chickens or pheasants or chicks basically sell along with them. And that creates a massive downward effect, fulfilling the self-fulfilling prophecy. There's no actual reason why September needs to be a down month, but because people believe it's historically a down month, they are looking for the market to go down. As soon as they see any sign of the market going down, they will actually sell themselves, which makes the market go down even more. So this suits the fat cats even more. So if you're selling towards September because you believe it's a down month, and there's no real reason why it's a down, there's no real reason other than you believe it's a down month, you're playing right into the fat cat's hands. So let's go over the reasons why September is a down month. You have regulations, Evergrande, Fed tapering, it's September, and of course the whales and fat cats taking advantage. So that's why we are actually going down this September. So let me know what you think, like and subscribe, and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you, and have a nice day.